It's just like a board, flat as a board. A board's supposed to be flat. If a board starts twisting, it cracks. If you're making a house of entirely twisted boards, the moment you step in it, if they were all properly set forth with each other, they would all start cracking. And then to complain about the ductwork of the house, where all the boards would allow the seams to not allow outside stuff in, but then you've got a house made up of all these cracked boards, is somewhat of the same thing, just done with something other than scientific equipment. Losing sight of reality is something where having authorities flip on a switch and off a switch for a state of emergence. This state of emergence is just as what Thad of Thin Air could have been when experiencing what a simulation is and a multiverse. If these two things are what are at the tail end and the forefront of every decision, then it's more of the color of law instead of the rules of law. That's extremely dangerous because the fine print can be numerous. If it's just a big game of constraining which strain and then handling a mutation, it's the math behind infinities is simply that they're not understood. So by having them inside of an equation, you could say whatever you want about the equation, but it's never going to be disprovable. A black hole is the equivalent of dividing by 0, and in doing that, it comes up as an error on your calculator. Try fastening that to the center of a galaxy, which all galaxies have black holes in the center. So that could be a whirlwind of non-disclosure. The other thing of dark matter, this is what keeps galaxies together and planets not spinning off into oblivion, was there's extra weight within each galaxy's of this skeleton, dark matter that doesn't interact with light. So you need to be really weary when there's words like photovoltaic. The words photovoltaic would suggest the need of separating light by a semiconductor to make electricity. Light is already in a form of electricity, so that falls flat on its face. The second thing is merging that in sorts by throwing infinities of not dark matter or black hole, but saying it's the boundaries of political and psychological things holding back from being able to go at a net zero emission would cry out for the help of turning off all the fuels like gas and then electrifying everything else, as if that's the answer, and creating a circle of no return. It's just like concentric circles drawing in whenever you've got a problem with health concerns, and then you draw those health concerns as what is the problem of using fuel, and saying that if you get rid of the fuel, you're going to clear up all the health concerns, where the root of the health concerns is from the people who drank the Kool-Aid and are the same ones pushing the Kool-Aid to enforce a new power grid, when this new power grid is nothing short of being able to get shutting down fisheries in order to have a bigger risk reward of making these dynamic electric equipments on the coasts where fisheries are, just because it's more conductive, is really scary. If it's just a big game of constraining which strain and then handling a mutation, it's just the problem of Adam and Eve, where Eve ate the apple to be equal to God, even though she was made in the image of God. So just by drinking the Kool-Aid to be invincible, then it is just a play on where it's culling the herd. How important zippers are. A split second could mean the difference between life and death, where it's a lot different if you're going with the traffic and you get bumped in the back versus if you're going on a head-on with the traffic and you get bumped in the front. If you don't roll over the windshield, you're going to be taking all the impact with the center of the longest trajectory of the Canandroid, making for the maximum momentum to be absorbed within your body. So that structure is like having a zipper and knowing which peg is the loosest, because once you've got a zipper with a missing peg, it's likely to be broken altogether. Photovoltaic. This would be turning light into electricity by induction of the semiconductors. Only problem, light is already electricity. And so by their creating a problem, you can put up these boundaries of infinity. These boundaries of infinity are what's keeping away from ability to have zero net emission. The exchange from getting rid of fossil fuels and then to acquire electrifying everything else. In order to get that into play, the interplay would suggest gas grilling and all this stuff has been what's led to all the setbacks of experimental technology from people who have already done that. The more you can beef up what a random number generator is, and it not being nature, is a way of unequivocally doing what a PCR would do, combined with a particle accelerator. They both handle the big and small, but on quantum scales would be by ripping apart its backdrop. But they do it in different ways. The particle accelerator would have it that the particles would crash into each other, and then the pattern of like a splash pattern, its design is so strong that it actually iterates parts of what were the past of a Big Bang. And so going in its backdrop and ripping apart the past would show how much of the direct centerpieces of the particles have to say for it. And it would just expose things that are well kept in a random number generator. What the PCR would do is you choose how many rotations you want to put the material stuck inside of it. You stick a material inside of it and you choose its rotations. The only thing is you can choose a lot of rotations, so much so that it would be ripping everything around it apart until you get what you're looking for. And so even though it isn't it, if you're ripping a lot of cycles around, it could immolate what the things around it are instead of what it actually is. It's just like, if you look at the entire earth of what's underground, you're gonna find a lot of roots. And the more that you're looking for telltale signs of rooting systems, you're going to come up with the trunks or stems of things that are near it. It doesn't mean that it is it, but it's within the same system, so it's unequivocally a result. Dang.